Hello, Julie here and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm sharing an art journal page with you. This art journal page started life as something completely different and I gessoed over the top of it and started again. The page is actually from my Happy Planner notebook that I've turned into an art journal by gluing two of the pages together to make them a bit thicker and then giving them a coat of gesso. This page actually started out to be houses and I had got this far and I decided that I didn't like it, so I gave it a coat of gesso and decided to start again. So there we go, there it is all re-gessoed, and I went on the internet and found some birdhouse images. So I printed those out and then I increased the size of a couple of them and reprinted them in varying sizes so that I had a choice. I also thought I would use these stamps. They're a Diane Reevely stamp and I've stamped them on white cardstock to use. There is already a lot of texture in the background, but I decided to add a bit more, so I've used some Montmartre modelling paste and this Kaiser Craft stencil, and I'm going to put the modelling paste through the stencil using my palette knife. The stencil is called Tribal Collage. You can see here that even though I've given that art journal page a couple of coats of gesso, the colour from the previous work has come through in areas. I took my put a bird on it stamp and used my archival ink and stamped one of each of the birds out onto white watercolour paper. For the background I'm going to start by using three blues. These are acrylic paints, and the three I'm using are True Blue, Navy and Summer Blue. I'm using a sponge to apply the acrylic paint to the page. I'm using both a dabbing motion and also swiping from side to side to apply the paint so that I get a mottled sort of a colour to it. I also blend the three colours in together as I go. I cover about the top 2/3 of my page with the blue. I've had these paints in my stash for 25 years. They are from my ceramic days when I used to do ceramics. I use the same technique to apply some greens to the bottom third of the page. I use chiffon green, which is a very pale green, a deep turquoise and a spring green. I wiped a bit of the paint off of the high textured parts of the background. To add some more texture to the background, I'm using this deep red stamp. It's called Water Droplets Background, and my black archival ink to just stamp randomly. To give my foreground a bit of extra texture, I'm going to use this Donna Salazar stamp called Twiggy and my archival ink in Fern Green. Just stamp randomly over the green area and up into the blue area a little bit as well. My next step for the background is to take some of this titanium white acrylic paint and water it down and add some splatters to the background. I use my fan brush to do this, and because it's acrylic paint, when it dries it should hold its colour reasonably well. To create the post for my birdhouses to sit on, I'm going to use this Kaiser Craft wood grain clear stamp and my black archival ink and stamp that onto a piece of white cardstock that I've cut to be 1/2 inch wide. because I'm using archival ink, when I add colour to this piece of cardstock, the stamping won't run. Time now to figure out the placement of all of my items. I'm going to add 2 birdhouses and 3 birds to this page. I use my Matisse matte medium to attach all of my pieces to my page. I also give the background a coat because that will seal it off and make it easier for me to shade later. I left that to dry overnight, and so it was nice and dry, and then I got out my Twinkling H2Os. I've got quite a few of these, and I thought that it might be nice to use those to colour these images. To use your Twinkling H2Os, you simply spray water into the pot and use them with a wet brush. You can either use a water brush or you can use just a normal brush with a little tub of water next to you. So I decided to go ahead and colour all of these items. I have used ginger peach, pink azalea, cinnamon stick, ruby red, burnt umber, butterscotch, majestic blue, mustard green, copper penny, snapdragon, Irish mist, lemon drop. They're the colours I've used, and I've sort of just spread them out over the page. I'm not going to have you watch the whole colouring process. That took quite some time, so I will put a bit on here, fast forward through some, and then skip to the finished painted items. I used a combination of my Zig writer and also a Art Studio permanent marker, fine tip, to go around and outline and give a little bit of detail to each of the items on the page. It helps to make it stand out from the background and just gives more detail to the images. Bring back all that line work that's been covered up with the Twinkling H2Os that went over the top of it. This is a very long process. There's a lot of detail on this page, so I probably won't leave the whole lot in here. I will fast forward some and then skip to the end. Once I'd finished with the outlining, I took my alcohol markers and did some shading on the actual colour so that it makes it look more lifelike, more like it's actually a birdhouse instead of just a flat picture on a page. Once again, I'll do some fast forwarding through some of this and then I'll skip to the end of it. I wanted to seal my page, so I took it outside and sprayed it with my Boil Matte spray sealer in a clear, and that will allow me to do more work on top without moving the colour that's already there. To shade around the outside of my items, I am going to use my Faber-Castell Pitt pens. They're Indian ink, and once they are dry, they are permanent. But you do get an opportunity to smudge them with your finger before they dry, which I like to use when I'm shading. So you can see here the technique I use. I'm going to use dark indigo. I think that this technique really makes the images stand out from the background, but still look like part of the whole scene. I'm going to use my fine line marker. I keep some slightly watered down black acrylic paint in this. I have one for black and one for white, and I'm going to just put a fine black border around the whole page. I do the same with the white acrylic paint, and this is not quite as watered down as the black and is very stiff, and I sometimes need two hands to get it out through the fine tube. I wanted to add a bit of lightness, so I punched some white flowers using these two punches. They're the same flower, just different sizes. I don't know the brand of the punch, I've had them for many years, and it doesn't actually say on there what brand they are. So I'm going to just sprinkle some of these flowers around the page just to brighten it up a little bit. I'm just going to use my normal Aleene's Original Tacky Glue to stick these down. They won't be stuck down flat. The petal, I'll only stick them in the middle, and the petals will be well, bent, I suppose, or they will be movable. To add some colour to the centre of my flowers, I'm going to use this product called Scribbles. This, once again, is from my ceramic days, so that's well over 25 years ago. It's similar to the Nuvo drops and things like that. It's textured and thick. And I'm just going to put a dot of that in the centre of each of those flowers. I felt that I needed some more flowers down the bottom, so I cut a few more of the larger flowers and put the yellow centres in them and then stuck them down the bottom. For the quote, I'm using a stamp that I got with a magazine. It says, "Let your heart take flight." I'm stamping that onto a piece of white card using my black, jet black StazOn ink. I smudged the first time I stamped it, so I redid it. I trimmed the words down so that they were all separate, and trimmed most actually of the white cardstock off, and then played around with the placement where I wanted to put them on my page. Once I decided on the placement, I used my matte medium to attach them to the page. Once the matte medium had dried, I used my acrylic paint in my fine line marker once again to outline the verse and help that to stand out a little bit more. And that will complete my page for today. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. If you have and you're not already a subscriber, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope you can join me for my next video. If you ring the bell next to the subscribe button, you will be notified. Thank you.